I think the number one thing that studies have found is kind of the rapid response and getting people out the street into housing. Need to fully develop those programs. And then permanent supportive housing. I know we've struggled with getting locations throughout the city. I really hope we can get those built out so that we have more housing for folks. And I think to echo, if people are familiar, they have data that kind of really struck home with me, is that a large percent of the people that are facing homelessness is from the project of gentrification in East Austin. And that really made me think about, look, these are fellow Austinites that have been here and they've lost their homes, now they're on the street. We really need to do more to understand their issues, get them in, go seek them, pull them into housing quickly, and then find a permanent place for them.
Yeah, so I think the city should continue to focus on rapid rehousing and permanent supportive housing. I think those both have been shown to produce the most effective results, and we have to continue to look at housing in a continuum and learn that for the most vulnerable, it's particularly important to offer them support through wraparound services, which we have great partners here in the community that are able to provide those support systems. And so we need to continue to have these conversations around what we can do to support our unhoused neighbors. And I think that's something that we are committed to as a community, and has been shown through the millions of dollars that have been spent on this issue. But we also need to realize that we need to have better understanding of how that money is being spent so that we can point towards tangible solutions. Because I think right now we can all agree that things have not gotten they're not as great as they could be. And I think we need to continue looking at the data and work with our local and state and federal partners to ensure that all the resources are being adequately geared towards this problem, and show that we are capable of making success.
Yeah, I just want to start out by acknowledging how grave this problem is. My understanding of the point-in-time counts is that 2010 we counted about 1,000 people living on the streets, and in 2024 it was up to 3,500. So 350% increase over about 15 years. And I do support the efforts the city's undertaken, investing in permanent supportive housing, including some of the bond money that we've supported, rapid rehousing, even a shelter as a last resort. These are all strategies we need to implement, and I do support the social services programs. But I think we also have to acknowledge this is beyond the scope of what the city can solve. I mean, our federal government doesn't build public housing anymore. It gives more to middle-class people in terms of mortgage tax deductions that actually expends on affordable housing. And this is a national problem. I mean, mayors like to pretend they can solve homelessness, but I really think we need state and federal support. And so to me, that would be another wing that I would want to organize towards, is frankly telling Congress this is a national crisis and y'all need to take some action.
Like I mentioned in the introduction, I'm supporting permanent supportive housing through my position as a board member with the SAFE Alliance. And that's for folks who have been experiencing homelessness for a while, right? They need the on-site services. They need a rent-free roof over their heads to be able to get them out of the cycle, right? But then there are also a lot of ways that we can help on the front end through diversion. So rapid rehousing is a great example of that. Opportunities to find and identify folks who are struggling and teetering on the brink and divert them from experiencing homelessness in the first place. Because all the research shows that once that begins, once you're in the process of experiencing homelessness, it becomes harder and more expensive to solve. So from an efficiency standpoint, we have to focus there. And then frankly, we have to make Austin more affordable. We have to address how expensive our housing market has gotten, because as we've seen the rents rise, we've seen the unhoused population rise. There's a strong correlation there, and if we're able to drive down prices in the housing market, we're going to be in a much better place where folks don't have to be on the streets in the first place.
We have a great nonprofit community here that's very much on top of many of the issues that are occurring with our homeless population. The homeless population cries out for us to stand up and to do what we can for them. What I would like to see us do, I've seen great examples of where we have kind of the one-stop shops where you can provide housing, but where you bring the individuals in and you find out what the issues are that they're suffering from, and whether it's they need psychological needs or whether they need to detox from something, whether there were some devastating things that occurred in the world that have made them unable to be employed. I think that there's several entities that have done tremendous jobs with bringing people in and getting them reintegrated back into the workforce, back into being assets to our community. And so I think that's the kind of program I would like to see, because I think it would be good to them and good for the city in the long run.
You know, it's a very complicated topic, right? Is homelessness. We talk about housing quite a bit, but we're not talking about the complexities from mental health to workforce development. I think one of the challenges I definitely see as someone that has worked for an organization focused on workforce development, and also having to work with unhoused neighbors and trying to provide the resources they need, the resources are very complex. Sunrise Navigation Center does a really good job of providing those resources, but I actually had a friend that became homeless, and he became homeless up north, on the northern part of the district, in District 7, and I had to drive him down to Sunrise. And reality is most unhoused, they're all over the city, yet those services only exist in certain parts of the city that they're tackling. So I'd like to see a better distribution of services, along with the fact of, you know, the looking at it as a whole person approach as opposed to just housing.